All right, folks, I want to welcome our guest to the show. It's Mike Casey from Eastern Washington. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be here.
Absolutely, man. I've been excited to talk to you. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about your first and foremost. I know you've been a paranormal investigator in the past, so I certainly want to talk about that. And now, just within the last year or so, you've gotten into Bigfoot, and I definitely want to talk about that. So before we get into the Bigfoot stuff, why don't you just tell us what got you into the paranormal investigations and what got you interested in that subject?
Yeah, so paranormal investigating, huge fan of the shows, of course. Ghost Adventures was like my number one, still is my number one for ghost shows. Sitting there one night living in Reno, Nevada, was like, why aren't I doing this? So I like Googled Reno Paranormal and came up with Ghost Posse, applied for that group, had an interview, got to go out on an investigation like that night. Got my first bit of an EVP, and after that, I was hooked. It was like clear as day. It was the coolest thing. It's on my YouTube. I have a YouTube, Mike Casey Paranormal Investigator, but it says he's still here with you. Only guy down there. All the others were women. So that was awesome. After that, I was with the group a bit. Got to go to a bunch of Virginia City, Nevada. Investigations, do the Washoe Club, Silver Queen Hotel, Miners Cabin, stuff like that. Got to adventure a little bit out. I was in paranormal. I don't remember the year I started. Had to have been around 2014 or 15. But got to adventure out to Arizona a few times. Got to do Tombstone. Got to do Tucson, the Slaughterhouse. Got to do Wickenburg, the Vulture City, that first annual Paracon there that Jay and Marie Yates threw. They're having another one this year, the third one. So yeah, it's just always been interested. Sat there, realized, I could be doing this. Why aren't I? And went for it. Had no books. All of a sudden, I was like, when I get interested into something, it's like I go full on. It's like I got blinders. Nothing else really is going.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, man. It was the same thing with podcasting, right? I started listening to my first podcast like last year, and then I was like, oh, well, I could probably do that. And now I do 3 shows a week, and I'm doing it full time. So it's
Mhm.
either all or nothing for me most of the time. So let's talk a little bit about the paranormal thing. Had you had paranormal experiences earlier in life that had you interested, or was it more just about the shows and the popularity of the paranormal stuff on television?
I would say I was always interested in it. Growing up, E.T. was one of my favorite movies. I had like this reoccurring dream of me at my grandma's log cabin getting chased around her house by this little creature. This head popped up and just, "Nah." So he was an influence my entire life, going through the redwoods and stuff like that. But there was a trip out to Salem, Massachusetts. Again, I mean, it was in early high school. I went with my family, and it was just a family trip. And we stayed at this hotel, decided, hey, let's go do a ghost tour. Super spooky vibe. Didn't really see anything, but just being in Salem, Massachusetts, I mean, we got to go to the museums. I don't remember the name of them. It's been so long. But that was cool. So I wouldn't say I was raised going to spooky places such as that, but the history aspect of things I was always into. There was another family trip that we did. It was a cross country drive, and we went to Independence Rock, and that's where like the Wagoneers kind of like stopped and put their stamp on a big boulder, this huge rock. So their family knew, like, hey, they made it there. They're now making it or going to this spot. So I don't know. It was scary movies and me younger, The Ring and The Grudge. Around that time, I was not into scary stuff. Those movies, the Blair Witch Project, actually, which is a funny one because now it's like one of my favorites. But those movies came out. I stopped watching scary movies. I didn't like going in the dark. There was a time where it was just no go, but then it was all go. It was just, I mean, everything interested me. When I was in the paranormal, I mainly focused on paranormal, like ghost investigations. Um, as I said, I started out in the group, but then that sort of fell apart. And then being a solo investigator, just kind of freelancing, so to speak, that got me into more locations, met a whole lot more people. I've spoken actually at a handful of conferences, Jackson City in California, Vulture City. There was an event that I held actually at the Biltmore in Lake Tahoe. That was super cool and super fun. It was like the first ever event for ghosts. It was, and now they're tearing the building down, which is so sad. But the ghosts will still be there to haunt those second homeowner hoity-toities. I'm excited for those stories to come out.
Outside of the EVP that you caught during your investigations, was there anything that really stood out to you as like this definitive moment that, holy shit, this is real, that you've ever experienced while you were doing an investigation?
There was one time I was investigating in Jackson, California. It was for a TV show. I've disbanded from the people that I was with there, except for one or two. So I'm not going to say those names. But they put me in a jail cell alone. It was like probably a half hour. Supposedly they all went outside and had cigarettes and stuff. I was the only one in the whole building. It was the abandoned courthouse. In the courthouse, they had these prison jail cells, holding cells or something, but some of them were like kind of more livable long-term cells. And so I'm laying there. One of the cameras was on me, so it's all filmed. And one of my friends comes in. He's like, "Hey, we got this EVP. We need your help to try and figure out what it says." And I pop up, and I'm like talking to him, and I go to stand, and my whole right leg just goes numb, and poosh! I mean, I fall like a sack of potatoes, and the reaction, I mean, me going straight up, I had full faith that my legs were going to work, and then that's how just quick it went. And for about a minute, it's like this whole leg wasn't there. I couldn't feel my toes. My buddy was like, it's on the YouTube video as well. There's a YouTube channel of my paranormal stuff, and that was the days I didn't have kids, and now I have some kids, and I'm trying to find the time to. I've been out about 4.5 times Bigfooting, and I want to get those out on film. And yeah, finding the time.
Trust me, time is a luxury for everybody. That's a luxury that most people don't have for sure. And it's tough because I sit behind the microphone and I do these shows and I get to live vicariously through other people's experiences. I just don't get to get out in the woods as much as I would like to and actually have the experiences myself. But it's the nature of the beast. So you were in this paranormal thing, and was there something that I know a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but some people I've talked to in the paranormal before have had some kind of like this profound moment that caused them to move away from that. And I know for some people it's dealing with very, malevolent type of entities and things like that, or some, physical thing happens to people. Was it something that you just sort of grew out of and moved away from as far as the paranormal and got more into the Bigfoot thing, or was it just sort of a natural progression for you?
Yeah, I would say life took a different course. I'm still into it. I still have the equipment. I'm planning a few things with a group that's actually just north of me up in Spokane, maybe a couple investigations. So it's not completely out. But the big switch over was, yeah, I have 3 kids now. Literally from probably my last ghost hunt. No, I had Ellie. Ellie was a couple months old when I went to Tombstone. So yeah. But now I have 3. She was my oldest. It's been a while, but money. it was so much to go places, to fly places, to even in locally 150, 250 bucks to stay one night in one location. And then that location, you're bundled up, you're cold, there's drafts, there's wind. So things sort of just shifted, priorities changed, viewpoints altered. I wouldn't say I had a big life-changing experience. No craziness. I saw a few shadow figures, but to me, I thought those were cool. I thought it was fascinating. At that same location I was just talking about, the Jackson courthouse, there was a shadow figure that was just rushing. There was groups of people were brought in. It was at an event, and like rotation groups. And so this entire night, we'd get people into the back of this one cell and be like, hey, look down the hallway, and you'd see this figure down at the end, and it just like just rush at you, stop, and then slowly back up. So I've seen stuff like that, but it doesn't scare me. So I wouldn't say that it's not off the table. I'm always itching to go back. Virginia City is like a second home. It's so weird. All these Western towns I feel so at peace in. Like Tombstone, I've been having all these flashbacks and reminiscings of, and I really want to pack the family up and let's go. But time.
There's that word again, man. There's not enough
Yeah.
time in the day, right? So you had this progression and you moved on from the paranormal thing. Why Bigfoot? There's so many cryptids out there. You know, there's Dogman, there's Nessie, there's, you know, Chupacabra, you name it. There's a cryptid born each week, it seems. The rake. I just had a guest on that I talked to a couple of days ago with an upcoming show that seen something that he didn't describe it as a rake at the time, but he came to realize that in the last couple of years that what he saw when he was a kid was like a rake. So why Bigfoot out of all the things that you could get interested in? Was it something specific that drew you to Bigfoot, an experience, or what got you into the Bigfoot thing?
I mean, I've always been into Bigfoot. The idea of a forest creature, I've never thought of just one. Even when I saw the first initial Patterson Gimlin film, I'm just like, these things are out there. Like, I even asked my mom, even when I got into this, I was like, how did I get into Bigfoot? And it was seeing that video, and that's like a phrase that she said. That's what I said. So it's just the idea of having that out there, and why him in particular, or them in particular. It's the forest. As I said, my grandma, her log cabin is up in like it's La Honda, California. Super small little town. It's like the redwoods of Santa Cruz. Windy road to get up there, and going to grandma camp. That was growing up. Hey, we're going to grandma camp, going to move rocks. And so being in the forest was always my thing. Concrete, pavement, cities, skyscrapers. That's when I like get sheltered in, close in, stop talking. Like, I need trees, I need the forest. Growing up, I grew up going there. So I grew up in Truckee, California. That's right, like 20 minutes north of Lake Tahoe. So once I got my driver's license, it wasn't take the bus and go home. It was get out of school and go to the lake, or go on the dirt roads, Dog Valley, going up Rubicon, going up to Eagle Lake over there. It was just exploring everything. Of course, I got the old beat up 4x4 92 GMC Sierra that just could go everywhere. So the exploration just kicked in there. I've been to places. I've traveled to Alaska, Minnesota. I've done some adventuring in Australia twice. I've gone to Belize. So the travel and adventure bug is in me. And to go and search for something that, I hate to go back to the money thing, but instead of going to a ghost spot for 250 bucks a night, I could spend 40 bucks and go to the woods and go camping and hiking and exploring, and not only search for Sasquatch, but go check out some bears or elk and all these other things. So it's like a plethora of things. Bigfoot's always just, I mean, could you imagine? Oh, I've never had an experience, but to have one would be just mind blowing. I mean, I'm not a knower, I'm a believer, but I'm on that verge of just, I'm like, I know that they're out there. It's just, I want to see one. I'm just, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the evidence. You mentioned the Patterson Gimlin film, and I don't think I could do a show without somebody bringing up the Patty film.
Yeah.
I've done entire shows about this, right? And there's still those times when I watch the film, and I'm very much like you. I think, wow, man, that's crazy that these things are really out there. And I've had experiences that I can't explain myself. I've never seen one, but I've heard things, and I posted a video recently from a walk around my property. You know, this 10-minute hike I took.
Really like that video. That's cool.
And people are like, holy shit, dude, that looks like a tree structure. And I'm like, I know, that's why I made the video, because I kept walking past this spot on my property, and I'm like, that's just weird. It's a whole thing. Everybody that's listened to the show is probably bored with the story, but I say that to say there's weird things that happen. And then I just mentioned it recently. I had a conversation with Peter Byrne. I had him on the show, and you know, Peter basically told me I was full of shit, that there are no Bigfoot west of the Rockies or east of the Rockies. Everything's west of the Rockies. And I've had so many people reach out to me about that episode and say, I totally disagree with Peter Byrne. And I'm on that bandwagon. I'm the same way. I've talked to too many people that have had too many valid, credible sightings and experiences in the southeastern United States to say definitively that there are no Sasquatch in this area. I just don't buy that. I don't believe it. But let's go back to the evidence, right? Bluff Creek, Patterson Gimlin, they're filming this purported female Sasquatch walking across the sandbar. Is there any part of you that watches that to this day? If we pulled it up right now and looked at it, would there be any moment where you would say, I'm not sure that's real? Or are you 100% convinced it's the real deal?
I'm convinced. I haven't really dived into the schematics, the slow motion, the unpixelated versions, but I see that. I don't see a suit. I don't know. It's so, with me not knowing that those details and everything and watching those things, I can't get into why as much as that really is just, it doesn't look like a suit to me. And all the footprint casts that have come from there, that's actually, so when I first got into Bigfooting, it was, I'm going to Bluff Creek. I was living in Reno, Nevada. Bluff Creek was a 6.5, maybe 7-hour drive. So when I like made that switch, like that's how immediate I am. I'm going there because that's where that video is. That's where like the history thing with me is like, that's where I gotta go. Sasquatches, there's reports all over Lake Tahoe, but in my head, packing the truck up. And that trip was amazing. I mean, that trip, I saw a mountain goat on a dirt hill with the most broken neck I've ever found, like I've ever seen on an animal. And I've seen some roadkill. I've hitchhiked. As I've said, I've traveled. And there's no road. It was a dirt hill, as I said. There's no boulders for it to fall off. There was that scuff mark that looks like it got kind of like thrown and bounced down the hill. So the question is in my head, like, what happened to this goat? I've posted it on Facebook and Instagram and all these things, and I love the feedback. I found stick structures up in Bluff Creek, actually. I'm not one for, I mean, I like stick structures. I believe in them as like, as navigational kind of markers, but there's one there that just, I mean, it couldn't naturally happen. And it's that one stick structure is the one that has like branched me off to looking into more and other stick structures. I sadly didn't get to the stick structure in your video that you just mentioned on your property. So I'm going to have to rewatch that. But just, I mean, I mentioned your video. That looks like an awesome area to live in. Richland, Washington isn't that like that, but we just moved up here in August, so I'm itching to get to exploring around here myself. But the Bluff Creek area, just exploring there was amazing. That just starting in searching for Bigfoot in 2021, I went early January, mid February, what was it, late April, and then I went to another location in March, Markleyville, California, but that was like the weekend of the big fire, and then we got evacuated the next morning. So evidence is, I mean, that's one of the things is why I'm out there, or I want to be out there so much, is I have all the books right here and I love reading them and looking into them, and but I want to get out there. I have a couple trips planned already that I have countdowns on my phone just waiting for the days to show.
I can only imagine. Let's stick with the stick structures for a little bit. I just did an
Mhm.
interview with a lady a couple of days ago, and she sent me tons of pictures. I can't wait to share them with you guys. I'm going to put the show together. It'll probably be out maybe next Friday. She has a cabin up in the woods that she stayed at maybe 5 times, and she's owned it for 20 years. And just in the last, I think, I don't want to blow it, but about 2017, she started having these weird things. She found a footprint outside the cabin, and then she started finding these stick structures nearby. And I'm talking, you won't believe the pictures. Either this lady or somebody has put these there, or she's got Sasquatch on her property. There's no other explanation for this. I mean, these things are balanced perfectly, and it's just weird. It's just weird.
Is it like the teeter totter style?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
Teeter totter
I've
style.
seen stuff like that.
And that's what she kept saying. You know, she was kind of into Bigfoot, and she talked a little bit about that. And she said she even heard somebody on my show. I don't remember what episode it was, but they were talking about the balance that they found in their stick structures, and it got me. I was going to go back in the archives and see what show she was talking about and what guest it was, but she kept saying balance. And when she sent me the pictures, I was like, oh my god! I mean, it's like perfectly balanced, and they're disappearing. They're showing up, and she'll go up to clean after somebody, she Airbnbs this place, and somebody leaves, and she goes up after checkout, and the stick structure that was there 3 days before is gone. And I'm like, Occam's razor. I asked the lady, I'm like, are you sure these people aren't coming up to your property and going out and building these things? And she's like, no. 90% of the people who rent this place are like city dwellers, and they're just coming up here to go shopping or go do the sightseeing things around the cabin. They're not outdoorsy people, and they're not going to be out building teeter totters out of 50-pound logs in the backyard.
I was
So
about to say, what's the scale of the logs?
they're huge. They're huge, man.
Yeah.
And so I too, like you, I like stick structures. I think they're interesting, but I've always been very skeptical, as I am about most things in the paranormal and Bigfoot
Hmm.
included. I'm skeptical because there's, I don't understand it. A lot of people have theories. You have theories. You mentioned something about directional indicators and things like that. And I've talked to so many people who have theories. We all, I guess, have some sort of theory. But until I actually know what they mean, or somebody says, hey, I've got this HD quality film of a Bigfoot building one, and then I had a conversation with it and it said, this is why, I'm going to be
Hmm.
skeptical about stick structures. I'm just that guy.
Hmm.
But they're fascinating. They're interesting. And, I just don't know what to make of them. But you mentioned the footprints, right? The foot castings. I went
Yeah.
to the Bigfoot conference here about an hour away from the property last week, and I got to see some really cool foot castings and things. And I got to look at some, they're obviously reproductions from the Patterson Gimlin film site. And a lot of people don't realize that in addition to the film, there were foot castings made that day of footprints on the sandbar. So
Hmm.
it's another layer and another level for me. And once I started getting into that and having conversations with Jeff Meldrum and people like that who have actually looked at these things and said they are absolutely 100% made by a real creature, it just goes to credibility, right? Is there any
Hmm.
other evidence out there as far as video or pictures or anything else that you've seen that's even come close to convincing you the way that the Patterson Gimlin film does that somebody has caught a real creature?
I would say the next thing on my list is the vocalizations. Hearing some of the stuff, David Ellis, moving up to Washington, I'm really eager and excited to be just that much closer to hopefully being able to meet that gentleman. There's so many people. I forget the names of the gentlemen. There's a guy in Georgia and Florida that also do it or do audio research. And Bumping Lake, there was audio research caught from there. I keep saying audio research, but there was vocalizations caught from there that last like 15 minutes from a guy named Tristan. It's just some of the things you can chalk it up to other animals. It's like, that kind of sounds like a cat, or that kind of sounds like an owl. But there's some also that it's, I mean, it's hard to just be like, really, you think that's an owl? So I would say the audio is one. Gifting, I've seen stuff about that where like they leave apples and stuff, and then all of a sudden they come back and some of the apples are gone, and one apple has a chomp in it, stuff like that. I've never seen the audio or video or anything around those sort of scenarios, so I don't know if anything else is coming up and eating those. I mean, again, I've been out in the woods. I know what hungry bears come looking for. So I don't know about gifting and stuff. There was one time, so at that stick structure, I was there with another friend of mine, and we set up. So there was a stick structure. All right, I'll explain the stick structure. So you always look for the root ball, right? Something fall over, you look to see if the roots are at the base of it to see if it was natural. This one, there are no roots there. It looked like it was placed like in between two other trees. You go to the other side of the trees, another like 6 feet, 5 feet past those two vertical trees, the tree snaps, goes in opposite direction. And by this chance, it's 12 feet in the air where the break is, and goes down and then threads like a needle through 3 or 4 other trees. So it falls, goes through, snaps, down, threads. And so I don't know how a dead tree can snap 12 feet high, go a different direction, and then get threaded through other trees that were like around this size. So it's like, pictures are there. So we found that structure. We set up the trail cam, put these little toy dinosaurs on this branch right in front of where the trail cam's viewing. There was 7 dinosaurs, and one dinosaur it came from like a different packaging. It was like they're toy dinosaurs. I don't know, it was just a different maker. We go back, we camp. It was 15-minute hikes over this hill. So we weren't far. Like, we stumbled upon this location, this campsite, because you go to Bluff Creek, and it's just, when I went to Bluff Creek, I should say, pick your time, because there's gates locked, there's snow, you got to turn around. There are only a few things are accessible. So we landed on this spot, found the stick structures about 15 minutes from there, spend the night, go back, look at the trail cam footage, and one of the dinosaurs is gone. And it's that one dinosaur that was missing, or like out of the packaging from the others. Spent 45 minutes like searching the ground of that area for that dinosaur, and it's not there. There's nothing on the trail cam. The trail cam caught pictures of me setting up the dinosaurs, leaving, and then us returning to get the trail cam the next day. So trail cams are up in the air on me too. I also, when I went camping in Washington last September, when like month after we moved up here, I got something on my trail cam. I'm not saying it's Bigfoot, but it's definitely this dark figure that has an odd shape to it in the background of my campsite. So I like trail cams. I'm probably always going to have them because of the weirdness that I've captured. But also I'm new to it. It was $70 off Amazon. I mean, yeah, it was. I've used it every time I've gone camping since for Bigfoot, and those are the two things that I've captured. And the infrared vision, like if they can see that IR beam, that light up in the air, I don't know. Probably not going to make me stop using it, but play around with the views that I have it. Like maybe have it pointed at camp one time, have it pointed away from camp another time, sort of see what happens. But I'm also hoping for a lengthy sort of research trip. I'm looking for more than just 2 days. So a lot of ideas rolling. Yeah, I just want to. I got a lot of ideas. Yeah, I'm
Don't we
excited to
all?
be able to get out there.
Yeah. That's one of the things I went back and forth with Doug Hycheck about is the IR and the why these things can't be caught on trail cams. And I think they have been. I've seen trail cam pictures that people have sent me from here in North Carolina and other places that, in my opinion, can be nothing else but a Sasquatch. There's one in particular that a gentleman sent me, and there's a picture of a clearly to me a Sasquatch standing behind a deer caught on trail cam in the middle of the woods. So I think it happens. But I do think there is this weird thing that goes on that I've had conversations with people about before. I don't understand the weirdness behind Bigfoot in certain cases. For example, people place things out, like you said, this dinosaur is out there, the trail cam sees you setting up, it shows the dinosaurs there, and then you come back and there's nothing on the trail cam, but one's missing.
Mhm.
Even if a squirrel came by and picked it up, it should have
It
been
would
picked
catch
up,
it.
right? It should have
Yeah.
been caught. And I
Hmm.
thought, same thing with, I'm going to say the words. I'm dropping everybody's name. Everybody's going to be pissed off and sending me emails with the name dropping. But Todd Standing, Les Stroud, both have had experiences where one of which was together, where Les and Todd put apples in this tree. They come back, the apples are gone. They had a camera on it, and there's some weird thing that happens in the moment, but the apples are there, then they're gone. And all they caught was like this top of a head kind of thing that sort of looked like it could
Hmm.
be a possible Sasquatch or something. I don't know. But that happens often. It's almost like the paranormal thing, when cameras are there, things get moved, something comes into frame, you can't really see it, or it gets distorted and then it's gone and there's this fog. It's just this overall weird thing. So that kind of leads me into a question. What do you think about the woo part of Bigfoot? Just the short time you've been into it. What do you think about some of the theories about this thing's not necessarily a blood and flesh and blood creature? It's actually something multi-dimensional, or it has this alien connection. What do you think about all the woo that's in Bigfoot?
I do not discredit it at all, because I come from the paranormal world background. Having that experience, those experiences, opened my eyes to a whole different reality, sort of. I mean, everything, we don't see everything that's around us. The footprints in the snow, the ones that just like they just gone, those ones kind of baffle me. But it adds to the mystery. It adds to the unknown factor. People that don't want to look into those types of avenues and subjects, you're missing out on a whole other library section. I mean, there's so much into it, so much reading. The infrasound, being able to like vocalize something like that, like other animal, I guess other animals are able to do the infrasound, but even a creature that's able to manipulate and be able to do that and strike fear into us or make us have a straight panic attack, that's just like, nope, I'm out of here, never again will I ever enter into the woods. Like, I've heard podcast after podcast after those. um so when I hear something weird, I mean, I'm all ears. It's I don't discredit anything. As I said, it just adds to it. It's so fascinating, everything, every avenue to it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, man. I don't discredit anybody's experiences, certainly on this show, but it's just like you peruse around Facebook, and I don't know where this started. I don't even know what the joke is. Maybe I'm just missing out on the joke because I'm working too much and I'm not really reading into this. But everybody's now posting eggs on all the Bigfoot forums saying that somebody theorized that Bigfoot now lays eggs instead of has live born children. Like,
Yeah,
what?
I miss that also. I've seen the egg posts, but I'm like, I don't even have the time to go back in through and be like, where did this start? Yeah, I've seen that too, but it's I think it's more of a joke. It's I don't know. I don't give that much credit. I should say. I think it's more of a
And
spoof.
I'm the same way. And I'm all about a good joke, but I think that's part of the problem in this field is there's not enough serious people taking a serious look at this, and there's so many different facets out there. There's so much infighting in the Bigfoot community that
Hmm.
this podcaster doesn't get along with that podcaster, or this scientist doesn't get along with this one, or this researcher hates this researcher, or it's happened to me recently. I'm sort of in the middle of this battle now with Les Stroud and Todd Standing and Thinker Thunker because of one of my video interviews with Les Stroud. Les called Thinker Thunker out on my show about being wrong about his analysis of the Todd Standing videos, Bigfoot videos. And now there's this whole thing going back and forth about, you're right, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm wrong. And I'm like, it's like, why can't we all just get along? Why can't we move in
Yeah.
the same direction and look for the same things? And we can agree to disagree. Certainly, there are
Hmm.
plenty of people in the Bigfoot community that I disagree with wholeheartedly. I don't think their theories are necessarily correct. I think they're a little bit off base in some of the ways that they approach things. But in the end, it's their way of doing things. I have my way.
Hmm.
I have my show. I talk about what I want on my show, and we can agree to disagree. But that and people faking evidence and all of those things combined, I think has just turned it into a joke. You know, I think we
Yeah.
had some serious credibility there for a while. There was a lot of traction. There was people involved in it, and I've talked about it when I did the Four Horsemen history shows on the show in the past couple of months. When you start losing people like that, Grover Krantz, Renee DeHenden, say what you want about their personality, say what you want about their approach, and even Peter Byrne. I
Hmm.
disagree with him about some of the theories that he has about where these things are and where they aren't, but we disagree, but we're still looking for the common goal. I think that's the
Hmm.
thing, and there's a mutual respect that is lacking in a lot of this in a lot of cases. And I think it's just become a joke for a lot of people because there are a ton of people out there trying to make money off the Bigfoot thing. And I'm all about capitalism. I'm a capitalist myself. But I think there has to be a respectful way that you do it. And I think you have to approach the situation and the subject in and of itself with a certain level of respect, or people aren't going to take you seriously. And I think that's what's happened in a lot of cases with some of the shows that have been out there and that are still, frankly, going on. It's just become this joke of, hey, we're going to continue to do the show for 15 seasons and never find anything. And I think people expect that there's got to be something. And when you go through 10 seasons and you don't find anything, well, the conclusion, obviously, for everybody that's been watching is, well, there's nothing to find, so let's move on here. And I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. The relationship between everybody with different opinions, it blows my mind the lack of respect and manners that people have nowadays. Um, Having kids myself, it makes me view everything a whole lot differently now. And in my if my 2 cents matter, it's keep doing you, keep doing what you're focused on. What other people say, wish they didn't, wish they had better thoughts, wish they had more constructive ideas, instead of beat down ideas, because it's just not cool. But it's sadly one thing that I don't like bringing it up, but it's one thing that happened in the paranormal world that kind of made me shy away and just kind of stick to, family stuff. When family came around, it's just like, all right, well, I got other priorities because it's like high school. I'm 33. I don't have time for a high school drama anymore. I wanna enjoy and live life. I wanna make friends. I wanna enjoy today. I don't want to beat myself up tonight because it's like, oh, you stumbled over this or you beat yourself up over that. One of my biggest things is just trying to stay positive, and I hope that everybody can do that. I know it's impossible, but the world we live in is scary, and the more positivity we can add to it, why not? Like,
I'm right there with you, man. There's
yeah.
people in the Bigfoot community that I don't talk to anymore because they've chosen not to talk to me because I have a relationship with somebody else and they don't like that person. It's just that
Mhm.
simple. And I'm like, dude, I'm 47 years old. I'm not in high school. I haven't been in high school in a long time. I'm moving
Yeah.
on from that, and I'm gonna. If somebody wants to work with me professionally and have a professional, respectful relationship, I'm gonna do that with that person. And the other person that doesn't feel they can do that, I probably don't want to be in a relationship professionally or otherwise with you at all. So it is what it
Hmm.
is. But it's sad that it happens in everything and it permeates into this world that's already on the fringe. People are
Hmm.
looking at this situation and this people who think this is a serious subject as a fringe group anyway. And then there's infighting in the fringe group, and it snowballs from there. And I
Yeah.
think we do everybody a disservice, and I think we do the subject matter in and of itself a disservice when you just can't get along with other people. That said, past, present, future, if there's any person that you could choose to go on a Bigfoot expedition with tomorrow for 2 weeks, anywhere you wanted to go, who would you take in the woods and where would you go?
I'd probably pick the one that I don't see being possible, but Russell Accord. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but say what you want about the show. Um, I respect it. I respect them with boots on the ground. I know, again, negativity has been spread about it. I see the Facebook pages and posts. Again, if you're not a fan of the show, leave the group. Like, I'll say that here. It's irritating to get on there. But yeah, Russell. He's who I try and aim to be. I want everything to be able to be on my back, to be able to hike out from the truck or the campground, the base camp, and just be able to be out there and to be able to survive. I've done survival trips. I've gone camping. I solo camp. That's like one of my favorite things. But it's either as like where the truck can go, or it's for like 3 days, 2 days. It's not for a lengthy thing. So one of my big things is I want I aim to do like hands-on training. Again, I got the books, I can do the reading, but personally, how I learn best is with boots on the ground, with looking over the shoulder of the guys that have been doing it. Um, I have a couple trips planned this year that are with some gentlemen that have been doing this for years. So I'm really excited to be able to be there and I even told them, it's like, hey, I'm not coming with any experience, but I really, really, really am excited to be able to have this opportunity, and just to be able to look over the shoulders of them is super exciting.
I can tell it in your voice, man. You're excited, and I think Russ is a good
Yeah.
person to aspire to approach the subject. I've always liked his approach to the subject. I've tried to work it out since last year to get him. I was trying to get Russ and Bob Gimlin on the show at the same time, and we could never line up schedules. He was always busy filming or whatever the case may be. We're going to get to hang out up in the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in July. He's going to be up there as a speaker. So if
Nice.
I can't get Russ on the show before then, I hope to sit down with him while we're in Gatlinburg at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in July. So I think that's a
Very
definite
cool.
that's a good choice, man, for sure.
Very
Well,
cool.
I know you mentioned it a couple of times that you got a YouTube page. Tell us
Hmm.
about your YouTube stuff, where it is, what you got going on, and where people can find you.
Yeah, YouTube. It's paranormal or Mike Casey, paranormal investigator. Again, right now it's ghost videos, like my best evidence that I've captured. Um, from years ago. Not really updated. Sadly, all that stuff is sitting in my little ghost hunting case. It's just I haven't even gone through that. Like all that audio, video, all that stuff is still in there from Tombstone. But yeah, there's that. Instagram is probably the best one for the Bigfoot. It's Squatch Mike, one word, SQUATCHMIKE. And that Winter has a bunch of kids, like pictures of my kids, but you know, Bigfoot roams the house. He's everywhere. There's t-shirts, there's little action figures. King Kong, my little kid loves King Kong. So there's a bunch of that, but again, there's a lot of trips planned for this summer. I'm going up to Forks, Washington next weekend for the first annual Sasquatch Days. So I'm really excited to be able to post that trip up and as well meet everybody up there. So there's things to come. Again, I just got into it. I'm looking for the time to be able to get all these Bigfoot trips into like either one video, because that'll be easier on time, or do trips in small videos, something like that. But again, I'm not a tech guy. So I got some things to learn because it's just me. I'm a solo guy. When I go out looking for things, I like to be my own boss. I don't like to mitigate, manage. I just like to be able to know and be able to do everything myself. Doesn't mean I don't like going out with people, but it's just easier. It's just easier working alone.
Trust me, I'm the only one in my studio right now, and I like it that way. So
Yeah, it's just quieter. Everything flows the way you kind of need it and want it. So
absolutely. Well, after you get these trips in, man, and you capture all this fantastic evidence that I hope you get about Bigfoot and Sasquatch, I hope you come back on the show and share it with us, man. I've had a great time talking to you.
glad to be back. If you'd had me, thank you, thank you. It's awesome to be able to chat with you because I listen to the podcast, and it's just your voice is different from all other Bigfoot Sasquatch podcasts. So it's Brian, true honor.
I appreciate it, man. The honor was mine.
Thank
That
you.
was fantastic, man. We'll definitely have to get you back. I'll mention when I talk to Russ, I'll tell him you want to go on an expedition with him, and maybe we can hook that up. That'd be awesome.
My God, that would be cool. My gosh, that would be fantastic. Like it's one of those because like I have the viewpoints of being able to maybe meet and talk to a couple people, even just next weekend, like the Olympic Project crew, and then Tate Hieronymus from Florida. He's driving up, and I'm going to be with him in Bluff Creek, and then up at Bumping Lake. So that dream's happening. But like Russell Accord, as soon as I saw Expedition Bigfoot season 1, I'm like, that guy is BA. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
I
that,
haven't
that
watched
that's
1 second of the show, but I've connected with him on Facebook, and I've sort of watched the stuff that he posts on Facebook, and the things he's done with Bob has been
hmm
fantastic. You know, a lot of people talk a lot of shit about him, but I think he's done the right thing by Bob, and I think his heart
yeah,
is definitely in the right place, and I think he's top notch as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah. No, I hope to meet him. Another guy up here, Tom Cantrell.
mhm.
He's an author. He invited me to have coffee with him and Bob Gimlin once the pass opens up, and I just moved up here in August, so I don't know what that means, but I guess there's a lot of snow up there. So again, there's things I'm so excited again. I just got into this. I haven't been into this for very long. I really just stepped into the Bigfoot community spotlight, so to speak, the podcasts with Bigfoot Society. So it's really cool. I don't know. A lot is happening. It's cool. My phone is blowing up with the invites, and people want to chat, and
Well, that's
it's
awesome.
very fascinating.
I've
Yeah,
talked to Tom Cantrell way last year. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I was actually going to have him
very
on the
cool.
show last year, but I don't know what I get so many things that drop. You know, when I first started doing the show, nobody was listening, and nobody would come on the show because they weren't interested. And now I don't have enough time to interview everybody who wants to come on the show, which is a good problem to have if you're in my
Yeah,
position. But so many people drop by the wayside. I had to call Doug Hychek the other day, and I'm like, he called me in the middle of me working on something, and he was like, I want to introduce you to this person. And he patched him in on the other line, and we're all three talking. And I was jotting notes, and I wrote the guy's email address down, and I recognized his name. I just didn't know who he was at the time. I even did some research, and I was like, oh, have Danny schedule him to get on the show. And I'm sitting here like 2 or 3 days ago, and I'm like, oh my God, who was that dude that Doug tried to hook me up with like 6, 8 months ago? And I started texting Doug, and he was like, dude, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I don't remember that conversation. And finally, I said, okay, it's going to dawn on me at like 3 in the morning. So, like 2 days later, I wake up at like 3:15 in the morning, and I'm like, Lon Strickler. That's who it was. It was Lon Strickler, the author. And I texted Doug the next day, and he was like, oh, yeah, I called you later on. You haven't interviewed Lon Strickler? And I'm like, oh, Jesus. But so much falls by the wayside, but it is what
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
It's that time, man. And time gets away from us, even though time is the illusion. And I hate time altogether. Time is what manages all.
It's the great equalizer, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If I had about 48 hours in every day, I would be a rich man because I could produce enough content and keep up with all three shows. I just finished writing the true crime show that I'm posting tomorrow. I got to record the rest of it in the morning. And I was out on the front porch, and I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking maybe go cook dinner. And Danny was like, you have an interview at 6 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Are we being recorded right now?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
Do you want me to
okay.
stop it? I just
No,
usually
but
I
for
just
that
let it run.
for that true crime, it might be a little added bonus. I mean, if you wanted to chat later, I've had a wild, I've had a wild life. I've been a part of things and witnessed some stuff.
Like true crime related.
Again, yeah, I have not listened to that show. I mean, it's been Sasquatch Odyssey. That's what I've been focused on. So I don't know the backstory, but true crime, I can tell you I've been there, and it's some it's fun. I don't know.
I'm intrigued. Were you in jail at the time, or
There was jail. There was jail in the time. But again, it was
well, you
everybody.
definitely have to tell me that story.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe with a microphone that's like blah 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 blah. It might have to be one of those types of things.
I'll definitely keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah, if you ever need a space filler, it's a funny one. There was a movie based on it. It's a good one.
We'll definitely have to schedule that, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's you got to experience life. You got to have fun. I had a wild one, and I met my wife in 2016. Married her in 2017. First kid ended 2018. But I got clean and sober 2016. So it's like everything before that was just wild and crazy.
I
And
definitely
then and now it's wild and crazy for all the good reasons. It's just like the kids running around, Rugrats. I haven't heard my kid wake up from his nap. He's zonked out. I'm back, but it's finally sunny out here, so we're outside. So
awesome. Well, I'm gonna hop off of here, man. I'm gonna go have dinner, and I will get this ready. It'll probably be a couple of weeks before I put the show out, but I'll try to reach out to you and let you know when it's coming out, so you can share it on your social media and stuff. And I'll
very
find
cool.
your YouTube page, and I will find your Instagram. I need to follow you on Instagram so we can
Yeah,
stay in contact there, and I'll link to all that in the show notes for everybody.
yeah. The again, that stick structure. That's like the biggest. That's the first one that actually made me think like a human can't do this. The mountain goat with the broken neck, some twisted people up in the hills. I get it, but the way it was, uh, I hope you add me because I hope you can look at it. It's intriguing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. So I'll follow you and I'll
Cool,
take a look at it.
cool.
Well, awesome, man. Let's stay in touch, and like I said, I'll hit you up and let you know when I'll send you my cell number via email too, so you got my cell in case you need to text or call or whatever. We can stay in touch.
Very cool. Yeah, that would be awesome. Cool.
Awesome. I'll
Thank you.
do it, man.
Thank you, sir. And
Yeah.
again, true honor to be on here. This
Oh,
was
I
this was
appreciate it.
awesome. Like when this invite got sent out, I was like, what?
I don't listen to Bigfoot Society. I'll be honest. I've listened to a couple of his shows, and I think I like Jeremiah. I like his style, but I don't have a chance to listen to a lot of podcasts anymore. And if I do, it's
Mm,
usually true crime, and I'm doing a story or something, and I want to make sure I don't cover it the same way somebody else does. But I haven't listened to Bigfoot podcast in
yeah,
forever. And
yeah,
but I saw your name and I was intrigued and I thought, well, okay, we might have him
cool.
on. Like Jeremiah said in your interview, it's great to have somebody who's fresh and not like Ron Moorhead who's done 5 million podcasts or Jeff Meldrum who's done 5 million podcasts. It's good to
Yeah.
have some kind of new perspective and sort of a new take on the situation, and that's why I like to ask so many questions about what do you think about this or what do you think about that, because I've asked everybody else and everybody's just sort of cemented into that. But,
Hmm.
your answer today may be completely different 2 weeks from now. You may
Yeah.
spend time with these people in the next week and learn 10 things and say, oh man, everything I thought about that is just completely wrong. And this is the
Hmm.
direction I go in. And I
And
get
that's
talked about
why.
that on the show a lot because I change over time. And I've had a
Mhm.
couple of people have, posted and left comments and things like that and said, look, I think that's a sign of intelligence when somebody can take more information in and say, I used to think this way, but now that I have education and information that came from 10 different sources, now I think something different. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe it's just me, but
Yeah. But we don't have. Yeah. That's the thing. We don't have one that we can study, or we don't have them that we can study. So nobody knows. So why shut the door, and why, pardon the language, but why be a prick? Why? It makes no sense. Um, on why people have to act that way. And it blows
I
my
mean,
mind that people actually act that way and feel that they're like okay about it. Like they're posting it
definitely.
thinking like, all right, people read this, continue on. Like it's just,
Yeah, it's definitely
yeah.
not. Unfortunately, it's not just with the Bigfoot community. It's just people in general. It's the
Hmm.
world in general. Unfortunately, and I'm a little cynical from 16 years in law enforcement, and I've seen people at their worst. It seems for so many years, and I just come to expect it. I almost come to
Hmm.
expect people to let me down, and I've certainly experienced that doing the show. I've had relationships early on with people when I started the show that were very helpful that I no longer speak to, like I said, because they're pissed off because I have a relationship with somebody, a professional relationship with somebody else, and they don't get along. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's toxic, man, and I don't want to be a part of it. And that relationship, had it continued, would have benefited me greatly with the show, and I would probably be doing 15 to 20 times better than I am had I not, or had that not ended. But you know what? I never regret it for 1 minute because I
Hmm.
stood on principle and I continue to stand by my decisions, and I'll be just fine, you know.
Good. Exactly. Good. Do you, Brian?
I am, man. I am. All right. Well, I'm going to jump
Good.
off here and go have some dinner, man. You enjoyed your
Yep.
time with the kids, and I look forward to
Thank you,
talking to
sir.
you again.
Yes, me too. Thank you again. Thank you.
Have a good